Okay. Mary, if you could check for me, just to see if it's streaming on the URL. So that might be helpful. I don't see, it says it's waiting on my end, but if you could let me know when it's streaming, that would be helpful. Ooh, there we go. So I think it is streaming. I think I just saw it. Oh, it looks like there's some other folks popping in. So I'm going to wait a couple of minutes because it looks like we got some staff folks in here. Let me pull up the Zoom. Hello. Beautiful. So I'm just going to ask folks to keep their video off because this is going to be streamed live. And if you have questions, you can ask in the chat. And Mary will be in the chat looking at it. And I'm just waiting a couple more minutes because I think there's some other staff folks. But for those of you who are joining me on YouTube, hi, my name is Amber, and I'm a business and technology librarian at the Boston Public Library at the Kirstein Business Library and Innovation Center. And so today I'm going to give a brief overview of OBS. And OBS sort of helps you add some punch to your streams. I have been regularly running a stream called Coffee with Kablik, which is an attempt to sort of recreate what it was like being in the KBL space. And so today we're going to go over how to set up some basic scenes, how to sort of look at the interface and find where you need to add settings and whatnot. And basically, I'm going to go through how I set up the Coffee with Kablik stream and what I do with that. So that's what we're going to cover today. And today's class is going to be about an hour. And this will be available later on YouTube. So if you wanted to revisit this, you can. And then if people have questions or whatnot, they can email ask@bpl.org. And that is for the public. But if my colleagues who have joined me today can just like shoot me a message in like Teams or whatever. And I'd be happy to help. So I have my colleague Mary, and she does the career workshop. She will be moderating. So if there are any questions, you can type those in the chat, either on the YouTube stream or in the Zoom chat, for those of you who are joining. So thank you all for joining today. And I am going to share my screen and we're going to look at OBS. And hopefully nothing too weird is up. So I'm going to hit share. And that's me in delay. So I'm going to pop that down and I'm going to get rid of that as well. So let's open up OBS. So this is OBS. When you first download it, OBS is an open source project. And actually, let me just show you where you can get it. If you go to the OBS project website, you can see you can download it for free for Windows and Mac. So today I'm actually going to be covering the Windows version of this. The Mac version operates it operates pretty similarly, but there is a couple of quirks with it. That occasionally there's some like weirdness with audio and whatnot. So it depends on what version of the iOS you have, or not iOS, Mac OS you have. But today I'll be covering the Windows, and you can just download it for free. There's also extra plugins that I will not be talking about today, but they are available. So if you wanted to do something specific with your streams, particularly folks who have gaming streams, those are available and you can find them. There's actually quite a robust set of forums on here, so you can do some searches to find that material. So I have downloaded it and I have installed it. And usually you sort of start with a blank set of scenes. There's a little bit of a setup process that starts, and I'm just going to pause for a second. Yes, thank you, Mary, for putting the link in the description. So I'm just going to show you a couple of key highlights here. So when you set up, it's going to ask you for some questions, but you can fix those settings later. So you can see here, you can do screen recordings with this. The default recording, I believe, is MKV, or I set it up like this. But if you were to remux recordings, that means you can sort of make it at MP4. I'm not going to cover that today, but there are a couple of things I'm going to show you in this scene collections menu, as well as some tools. I actually did download a plugin called Virtual Camera, but I don't think I'll have time to show you that specifically. So, all right. What you'll notice here is sort of like your source window. So this is what, when you click on a scene, what you'll see. Right now, our sources are empty. So I can add things in this window down here. This scene window allows me to have multiple scenes. So when I do Coffee with Kablik, I have a different sort of set of tiles that I can use and sort of switch between. This is where you can start streaming. And you can also, like I said, you can record a screen share. So like if you're trying to do a tutorial, this is a great option for folks on Windows who don't have QuickTime, because the QuickTime comes native on a Mac. And there's also studio mode, which we'll get into at the end, towards the halfway through the class. And we'll be hanging out in this settings menu quite a bit. So without further ado, and I'm just going to pause for questions and sort of see if there's any questions in the chat. Let's see. Nope. So I'm just going to pause, and then Mary, if you let me know if there's any questions, that would be cool. All right. So on this left-hand side, I have this blank scene right here. And adding a scene, actually, I'll go through that process so you can see it. Yes, I know there needs to be at least one scene. I was going to delete it and show you how to add a scene, but we can do that afterwards. So here's our scene. It's empty. Okay. You will see actually a couple of setups like this. So I have my sources here, and I can hit plus. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to do a video capture device. So I'm going to be using the web camera from my device on this. And actually, before I do that, because it's probably going to yell at me a little bit, I might just turn off my web camera. If I do that, guys, can you still see my screen? Okay, beautiful. Thank you very much. I just wanted to make sure it doesn't yell, because sometimes if you're trying to use the same video source in 2 programs, it will yell at you. But I'm gonna hit this plus sign at the bottom left-hand corner of my sources menu. And I can have as many sources as I want, but I'm gonna start actually with a video capture device. And so it's going to ask me to create a new video capture device. And I'm just going to call this Lenovo webcam. I will stress to you that it's important for naming conventions on OBS. It just helps you stay organized. Like I've definitely been like blah, 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 and then been like, oh, what is this? So it's important, have a good naming convention when you're doing this. And I'm going to hit OK. So it's going to ask me what source I want to use. Right now, I only have one. I have 2 sources. One is this virtual camera for OBS, which I'm not going to use. But for most people, you'll just see the integrated camera right here. And you can change the defaults on this. You can change you know, the colors, all that stuff, that's available here. We can even flip this. So if I wanted to be upside down for whatever reason, let's say you had a camera rig a certain way and the camera has to be upside down just by the way that you have rigged it. So you can just flip it. So that's helpful. And that gives you some flexibility there. So that's what that would be used for. And then you can also capture audio only. Like, let's say you're just using the onboard mic on a camera, you could do that as well. I'm not going to, oh, let's see. Yeah. I'm just going to leave that alone and I'm going to hit OK. So what you should see here is my Lenovo webcam. And I actually don't need this audio here, but you can see this wonderful shot of me. If I right click on this, you'll be able to actually resize this. So I can, where is it? I always goof this up. Transform. It's under transform. So this is another place where you can rotate something and flip it. So I can hit fit to screen. And this can be my just default here. Now, this is just called scene. I can always rename a scene. So I can just say just camera on here. And I'm just going to have that be my default. So if I'm happy with this, I can leave it. So what I'm going to do now is if I wanted to add another scene, what I want to do is I want to have a scene of myself, a window capture, so I can broadcast what I'm seeing on my screen. So I'm just going to call this Mozilla Capture. And I'm going to hit OK. And notice again, we have here this particular scene setup. So it will leave you with some empty sources. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit add and I'm going to hit window capture. And it's going to ask me to create a new source. So I'm going to name it Mozilla, because let's say I have multiple browsers open. I want to make sure that I am using the browser I want to see. So I'm just going to call it Mozilla, and I'm just going to add existing. And so I'm just going to have this Firefox right here be the window capture. I'm typing in Mozilla. I don't think it's been called that since like the 90s, but that's okay. No, later than that. But let's see. So here it is. Here's my window capture. So what's cool is I can switch back and forth between the camera and the window capture. So if I have a particular thing I want to demonstrate, I can bring that up on the screen. Now, you can do this a little bit easier, and I'll talk about the transitions in the studio mode. But we can actually zazz up this window capture a little bit. In Photoshop, I actually made a graphic that I can use. So if I hit plus, what I can do is I can grab an image. And I'm just going to call this window. Let's see. I'm just going to call this frame with circle. And I'm doing this specifically because you'll see what I'll do later. And I'm just going to hit OK. So what it's going to do is it's going to ask me to search my file system. And I'm going to hit browse. And I got to remember where it is. So I'm just going to do this. And I believe it's this one. Yes. So I'm going to hit OK. So this looks kind of funny right now, right? But what I want to do actually is I'm going to get my Mozilla over here, and I can use this arrow and bump it up over the top. And I can resize this so that it's kind of a little decorative element on the back. So now when I'm showing my browser window, I can actually show the browser and have a little bit of a decorative element in the background. And that way it remains branded. And what I did was I made this in Photoshop, actually Adobe Illustrator. That might be another class I'll do, just showing how you can make this graphic. You can also use GIMP or paint.net. So if you're looking for a free software to be available to do that. So this is kind of exciting. The next thing I actually want to do is I'm going to I want to make another browser just showing the browser window, but I want to have my face in it. So what I would do is I would add another scene and I would go through all of this rigmarole again. Or what I can do is I can right click and I can duplicate this. And I'm just going to call this browser capture with video. Now watch what I do here. So I have these two scenes and they're virtually identical. Well, what I'm going to do with this browser capture with Windows, I'm going to move this a little bit and I'm going to resize it. Now, I'm going to add a new source. So I'm going to go down to the bottom of my sources menu and I'm going to hit add. And I'm going to do video capture device. Because we've already added a video capture device, I can put in my Lenovo webcam here and I can hit OK. Hello. So I can make that a little smaller. I can pop that over here and I can put it underneath. And now we have this nice little layered browser window. So I'm going to pause here and see if there are any questions, because there's a couple of things I do want to point out. All right. Yeah, it is super cool. And so what I did actually in Photoshop was I made sure that these pixels where my head is were deleted or transparent. And so this is just a PNG. And you can just find that here. So if folks had questions about that. There's also another way you can do this by using a masking technique. And if we have time, I can show that at the end. Let's see if there's any other questions. Yeah. So here I am. Woo! So I have this over here. Oh, by the way, when you're streaming, not like me right now, make sure that you have some distractions removed. So I have my bar card over here and my coat rack over here. So when you're framing a shot, it might behoove you to sort of move things out of the way or zoom in, or you can crop things as well. But I'm going to show you that duplicate again because I want to do something kind of fun. And I'll show you what you can do here. So I can actually have a scroll across the bottom with information that folks can use. So I'm just going to duplicate this just camera again, and I'm just going to hit duplicate. And I'm just going to call this scroll bottom. And I can never type when people are watching, but it's okay. I can rename it if I goof. So I'm going to do scroll bottom. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add an image. Now I have that frame with the circle, but I'm going to create new. So I'm going to call this scroll top. And I'm going to hit OK. And I'm going to browse. And here's my scroll top. And it's again, it's a PNG, and I'm going to hit OK. And I'm actually just going to add all of the elements here. So I'm going to go into my image again, and I'm going to add another one. So we're going to call this scroll bottom. And I was smart and named it scroll bottom. Okay. So this was the correct size, but this wasn't. What I can do again is I can hit transform and I can fit to screen. Oh, crap. Transform and hit fit to screen. And I can put this down here. And I'm going to put the scroll top on top. All right. So now I need to put in my text. So what I can do is I can actually add text in OBS. I can add it from a file, or I can actually type something in native if I wanted to. So I'm going to hit this plus sign down in my sources menu, and you're going to see there's a lot of this is repetition. So, and I'm just going to add, I'm going to go in it where it says text GDI plus, and I'm going to create a new text. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to call this info scroll. And I'm going to hit OK. And I named it wrong, but that's OK. So I'm just going to put in here Amber. Oops, I can't even spell my own name right. Amber is the best ever. Hashtag cool kid. Oh, there's no spaces in hashtags. It's cool. I'm going to hit space, dash, dash. And then what we're going to do is I can have these be uppercase if I wanted to, lowercase, and then start case is the, ooh, typo. Amber is the best ever. I can change that, and I'm just going to put it back to none. Definitely proofread. That is my weakness. And I can change any font if I wanted to. So I can change this to Calibri, or I believe I don't have it on here. Do I? I was hoping I had Montserrat. That's our BPL font, I believe. But what I will do is I will just use Tahoma, and I will hit OK. And I'm just going to pause here. And show that you can actually change the color as well. So you can select colors from this particular thing. So actually, let's make it pink. But if you have branded colors, you can put in your hex color as well. And I'm going to leave this background color alone. Right now, its opacity is at 0 because we're not going to use it. So if you wanted this text to be slightly see-through, you can. But we're going to leave that at 100%. And I don't want a background because I've made one. And I'm just going to hit OK. All right. So that's a thing. I'm going to pull this down. And I'm just going to resize it so it fits inside my ticker space. And I'm just going to move it so it's below the ticker that I have here. And actually, I'm just going to make it a little smaller. And you'll notice that it's oversized. How do I get this to move? Well, there's actually something sort of hidden inside of OBS. So if you right click on this and go to filters, this is where you can do a lot of cool things. So I'm going to hit filters, and it's not readily apparent that you can do anything, but if you hit this plus button, what you can do is you can add scroll. You can also like sharpen things and play around. There's different settings here that I could have actually applied to my video and audio. Well, not audio, but because there's no audio on this. But if there were some effect filters for audio, it would show up at the top, I believe. But you can change the brightness. You can sort of add. You can add a green screen. You can color correct so I can make myself look less pale. But that's not really relevant to the text. What we want is this scroll. And I'm just going to call it scroll for right now. And we can change the horizontal speed. And we have the loop here. So now when we hit close, we have a scrolling video. So like this is good if like, especially if you're nearing the end of the stream and if there's something that you want folks to be aware of, you can put this here. So in my Coffee with Kablik, I have the contact information for the library. So, okay. We have 4 scenes set up. Oh, let me show you something else just so you have let's see, we have a question. Yes, it is pretty cool. So let me show you something else. So let's say I have this browser capture with window. Oh, yeah, it's pretty crazy, right? You can do that with the scrolling text. So if you have this browser capture with window, you know what? I'm just going to make a new scene. Why not? And I'll go through the whole thing just so you can see it. So I'm going to add a new scene and I'm just going to call this agenda, or actually I'm just going to call it sample because we're not really doing anything right now. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add my video capture device and I can add the existing. This is why I say it's so important to label things well, especially if you have multiple inputs. And I'm going to hit OK. So I have this. I'm going to pop it down here because I know that I'm going to put a frame around this. And I'm going to add a frame. And I'm going to go into my image. And now I could add an existing, but I'm going to hit create new. And I'm just going to call this help, I think. Yeah, we'll do that. And I'm just going to browse this PC. We're going to go in the desktop. And I have this business advice 1. So this is just another thing I made. Theoretically, I could type in all of this text using OBS, but I did this in Illustrator just because I wanted the particular font that matched our branding. But I'm just going to hit OK. And oh, I got to move that window a little bit. So there I am, Mr. Scullington. And my my wonderful phrenology map. Excuse me, sorry. So I have this here. Okay. And you can order these any way you want. My recommendation would be if you're having a stream and it has particular segments, put it in the order of the segments. That way, as you number them, you can go through and sort of have the particular flow that you're looking for. Okay, so we're starting. Oh, a good idea actually is to have a sort of a start image at the beginning of your screen, because I will show how you can stream to YouTube from this, and there's about a 10 to 15 second delay, and occasionally it's a little goofy and you might start talking in the middle of I can't speak. It might start capturing your stream in the middle of a sentence. There we go. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add an image and I'm going to create new, cancel. So this is where I was goofing up. So let's say you goofed and you didn't mean to do that. You can highlight something and just hit minus, and I'm just going to hit yes. And I'm just going to start this and I'm going to call this intro image. And I'm going to hit OK. And I'm just going to move that to the top. I'm going to hit plus. Oops, cancel. I'm going to hit plus over here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to upload an image, and it's a new one. And I'm going to hit OK, browse. I know it's in here. I think that's the one. Yeah, and I'm going to hit OK. So I'm just going to have this as my start image, and then we will move. Oh, sorry, I'm doing a live stream. Can you come back later? Thanks. They're doing work in my apartment. All right. So now we have all of our elements for our stream. So what I'm going to do is to make this a little bit zazzier. Oh, let's talk about audio here. So there's a couple of things I want to point out about audio. By default, there's a couple of things you should know. When you're setting up, this audio mixer might be empty. So when you are looking to make sure that you are streaming and you have audio, there should be something in here and you should be seeing feedback. Right now, my mic is pretty heavy, so I'm going to pull that back. And also, there's something goofy going on here. So right now, I don't have any desktop audio, but this would be helpful if you are, say, streaming a game and you want the sound effects for the game to come through. Or if you had a particular input, let's say we have this Lenovo webcam, you could make sure that those sounds are either high or low. And so you can adjust all of these individually. Sometimes, however, this audio mixer will be empty. And that's when we'll go into this settings bucket right here. So if I click on settings, hello. Sorry, my computer slowed down. It's really slow. I hope I'm still streaming. So in this settings menu, what I was going to show you is you have to go to the audio settings specifically, and you need to sort of turn these on. So I have two sources that I needed to turn on. One of those is the desktop audio, and the other is this auxiliary microphone, the one that I'm speaking in right now. It's connected via a digital audio interface. For most folks, desktop audio will be fine if you don't have a fancy setup like mine. And you should be able to see it. This is questionable. Oh, of course. It froze. My luck. So let's see what's going on. I know. Oh no is right. So let's see. Control Shift Escape. I might have to redo a couple of things because I don't think I saved this. So hold on. Processes, apps, OBS, and task. So I've ended that, and hopefully if I start it up again. Hey, here we go. So let's go. Oh, we'll turn that off. Well, that's later. So if we go into our settings, we have some general settings over here. It's in English. We have a bunch of general stuff over here that I'm not going to talk about. I want to go into my audio settings. So you can see right here, the desktop audio, I have it as default. You might see this as disabled. Sometimes in the Mac version, it acts a little wonky, and you might see some different options here. It might disable it by default or whatnot. So you can just change this to default and it will pick up something on YouTube, for example, or the gaming sounds in the background. I don't need to have this desktop audio 2 enabled, but this is my mic auxiliary audio line 1 and 2. So this is the mic I'm speaking into right here. So when I stream, it's coming through this particular mic. And then the sample rate 44.1 is like pretty standard. So you don't need to goof with that. In this, you can change this to mono. Nope, I'm not gonna do that. We'll do that later. And I'll show you how you can do that. So right now the default is stereo, but I'll show you how you can fix that. So I'm going to hit cancel just so you can see this. But if you're just like, why don't I have any audio inputs? This is where this is. Oh, and it looks like there's a couple of questions. Does it save it automatically? Mine does. Yes. I have had the issue though occasionally where it does crash. But it should have saved it automatically, especially if you started a new scene. So most of the time it's good, but like it helps to be paranoid. I don't know if that makes sense. I'm actually just going to cancel this. So here are all my scenes. Now, see here where it says auxiliary mic down here, you'll notice a couple of things. One is there's only information coming in on 1 meter. That's the left side. What we need to do is if we click on these and hit advanced audio properties, I could cheat a little bit and I can change this to mono. And actually, I'm going to do that to both. And this is where you can turn your monitor on. So when you say monitor, this means you can hear yourself on a slight delay. So if you wanted to hear the quality of your audio going through, that's something that you can do. I find it distracting, which is why I have a co-pilot in Mary. So that's kind of what I do. So I'm going to hit close, and now you'll see I have the settings right here, and like it's okay that you're using mono. It's not going to make much of a difference. Part of the reason is like it took input 1 from my mic, from my digital audio interface, and just piped it directly into the left channel. And I could have changed the balance or whatever, but like honestly, like it's going to sound fine if we just have that one input broadcast on both. That's just like a quick and dirty way to do it. If you want to do like some real heavy duty audio stuff, that's on you. But today we're just getting up and running. And this Lenovo webcam, I don't necessarily need the audio for this. So I could actually hide this if I wanted to. So if I go into my advanced, if I go into this little gear here, I can hide that so it's not distracting anytime I have it in my sources here. So I can only focus on my oh my goodness, the audio that I need. So all right. So we got a sneak peek of this earlier, but there's something called studio mode. And this I find helpful if you are using the studio mode to sort of cue things up. And I find it's helpful, especially when you're doing this, to see what's coming next, because if you have more than 2 or 3 scenes, you might forget. That's why I mentioned have a decent naming convention. You can even number these if you really wanted to by changing the name. So if I come over here and I can rename and I can put a 1 in front, you know, and do that sort of thing. But I can actually change the transition effects here. So if I go into my scene transitions, the default here is fade, but I can use cut, or I can actually make a new transition. So what I'm going to do is I am going to, where is it? Bloop. Let's see. I always forget where this is. It's this down arrow here. Quick transition, cut, fade to black. Oh, here we go. It's down in the scene transitions thing. Whoops. I was like, where did it go? So I use the swipe on mine. So you can also do a slide, and we can call this slidey, you know, and hit OK. So you can have it slide up from the right, and so you can see what it looks like, or you can have it slide up from the bottom and hit OK. And then when you transition, it will slide up. But you have these quick transitions down here as well. So I can also add my slidey down there. I find that transitions can get, like if you have too many, it can be distracting in this middle part here. But if you want a specific transition to add to your visual style or whatever, that's something you can do. I just got a, nope, that's not important. So I'm actually just going to go back, and this is going to be my default that I've now made. But I can use this fade to black, and I can actually bring my intro image up. And if I hit fade to black, that's how I can sort of start my stream. It has some black screen and then fade up. And if you want to see the audio mixer here, I'm still talking over this. So just be mindful of that. There is audio attached to this particular scene. You could take that off, but that is something to be aware of. Okay, so I'm just going to hit fade to black. And then what you can do is you can essentially just transition and you can sort of work through your transitions how you want to. You should do a dress rehearsal. Woo! We're in Mozilla here. And if I were to switch to another browser window, you'll see that it pops up over here. And it will also be in our other capture over here as well. I'm going to go back to screen transitions because there is something I do want to point out. So I'm going to hit the plus bar over here. So there's like a fade to color. So you can do like a fade to white, fade to purple. There's also something called here stinger. And what that is if you have a video file, like let's say you want like a Batman logo, spin it in. You can add that file to this stinger. You would have to do the animation. So you would use something like Adobe After Effects to sort of make that. And you can add that so it transitions in and out, but you don't really need that if you're just starting out. But I might end up doing a class on that. So we'll see. All right. Do you know if there's an easy way to change the audio settings of a scene? Say you want your mic muted for the intro scene. Yes. So if we go back to our intro image, and I'm going to go to my audio mixer over here, I can just pull that down. Now, notice how that does that for all of them. So you can have it sort of muted until you're ready to go. And then you can just kind of pull it up. You can also, I think if you end up removing this, it will remove it from the other sections. Let me just see. Because if you hide this, it's still there. And you'll still be getting info from it. Yeah. Oh, and you can also add filters to this. I forgot to mention. So you can increase the gain. So if you wanted it to be louder, like I'm pretty loud on my mic right now, you can add some compressor. So like if you want to add like a particular kind of effect to it, you can do that. I'm just actually going to take this off right now. So there's a bunch of stuff hidden inside, but that's the best way that I found. I'm sorry, I don't have a better answer. But it is helpful to be sort of mindful of the volume sliders that you do have. I don't know if that answers your question. It's kind of a rinky-dink way of doing it, but that's the best solution I have right now. If someone can point to a solution, maybe leave it as a comment. That might be helpful. Let's see. Mary, are there any YouTube questions? Just curious. Oh, yes. I just unmute. Oh, yes. So my colleague is in here. Okay, cool. Oh, yeah. So that's my tip, actually. So notice how I have Chrome open as my streaming browser, and then I have Firefox as my demo browser. The reason being is you can have two separate windows open, like you can have two Chrome windows open, but I find that confusing. So when I do the window capture, so if we go back, I find it helpful, like if it's just a separate browser that's capturing the stuff. Plus, like if I have like notifications or something set in my Chrome, I don't want it to like necessarily like pop up in the middle of the capture. So I have a browser that I strictly just use for streaming, and I just use Firefox for that. So yeah. Okay. Yep. So let's see. I was going to show you something else now. Oh, right. So let's talk about actually streaming because we have about 10 minutes left. So let's say we get everything hunky-dory. What I want to do is I want to go to the beginning of my stream. So I'm just going to fade to black, have that as my opening. And I'm not going to actually stream live just so you can see this, but I will show the YouTube Live desktop settings just so you can see it. So what I can do is if I go into settings over here, we'll go to output. So there's two things I want to point out here in output. There's a simple one. And it's saying recordings cannot be paused if the stream quality is set to same as stream. That's a good thing to be mindful of. So output here, the default will be simple. I have it on advanced just because I wanted to change the bit rate. For the size of the stream that I have set up, which is 1080p, this is actually really low. But I have crappy upload speeds, so YouTube's constantly yelling at me that I have like low bit rate. But in general, if you have 720p output for high definition streaming, that's the minimum. You want this to be 9,000, over 9,000. Sorry. Dragon Ball Z. Anyway, and if you have 1080p, you want this to be 15,000. Everything in here is kilobytes per second, but you might find standards in megabytes per second. So it'll be like, oh, it'll say 15. You just multiply it by 1,000. That's it. So, and then the target usage, I have it as balanced. I find that that's the best quality. And I use the encoder H.264 just because that's good for playback on YouTube. And then you can hit apply. Oops. And also in settings, so my video output over here is 1920 by 1080. And that's when I was saying 1080p earlier. But you can also change this to 720 as well. So if I do this, what will happen is it will actually change the size of my canvases in the background. I'm making a hand gesture and you guys can't see it. But I would have to resize everything that I made in the canvases that I've set up to be 720 high and 1280 wide or smaller, since some of the window captures are smaller. I have it on 60 frames per second, which is the one of the recommended settings for high definition streaming. But you can have it go lower. You can do 48. Ooh, here's something fun. You can set up hotkeys. Like if you have an Elgato with like multiple inputs, you can set up hotkeys and you can do that in this menu. I don't have that particular setup. And then lastly, if we go to stream, so here's my stream stuff here. I'm going to send this to YouTube Gaming. You can do Facebook Live. There's also Twitter and Periscope. There's a custom service that you can use. So you can do a server or whatnot. So I'm just actually going to go back to YouTube in YouTube Gaming. And then this primary YouTube ingest setting is where you want to be at. But there's other settings as well. So if we do show all, there's a few options here. So any streaming service, there's like a bunch, but like the ones that are highlighted are the most used. So there's Vimeo, some specialized software streaming like OnlyFans. So if you're an entrepreneur in that way, you can use that as well for that. Let's see. But I'm going to leave it on YouTube and YouTube Gaming, and I'll just hit up. I'm just going to hit cancel for right now. So if I wanted to stream, I'm just going to pop open my browser here, and you can see my. Oh,
I was just going to tell you that you've got some statements here. I was going to read some of the questions. So.
Oh, I think that's Amanda.
Mostly.
Yeah.
But, you know, can you add a mute audio to the filter, which you did?
Yeah.
But one handy thing is, can you crop windows by holding Alt key? It's a minor thing, but I find myself doing it all the time.
Yes. So if you if we go back, let's find this. If you're holding the Alt key on the Windows, you can crop that to a particular size. I don't mess with it so much, but yes, you can do that as well. So I'm just holding down the Alt key, and that would be the Option key on a Mac computer, and you can crop that way. Actually, also, you can do that with the camera as well. So you can, let me see. So you can crop, kind of make like a dramatic letterbox kind of scene like this if you really wanted to. No, Chrome. Hold on. And I can't undo it.
Darn.
It's okay. I have to just pull it out. So I can pull it beyond. So I'm holding the Alt key, and there we go.
That's a bummer. There's no undo.
Yeah, it would be helpful. Let's see. And then, are there any other things, Mary?
I think you saw the questions.
So thanks, Amanda.
You can also set up hotkeys to show and hide sources, which can be handy.
Oh, yep, you can do that too.
Yep.
Yeah, but that's kind of advanced. But this is just a general overview for most folks using their stream here. So this is the stream. See, this is yelling at me, and this is actually really, really low for YouTube. So it's probably going to be glitchy on the playback. But if I wanted to schedule a stream, I'm going to go to the manage on my YouTube. What I can do is I'm just going to go into this sample stream right here, and I can copy this stream key by hitting the copy button, going into OBS, going into my settings, and going into my stream settings and pasting it in this particular window here. And then when I'm ready to go, let me hit cancel, because I don't want to, I'm going to hit start streaming. I'm not going to do that right now, but once I hit start streaming, you're going to see a notification over here. This button will turn blue, and you'll see a sort of progress bar, and it'll tell you the data that is popping up. So it'll tell you whether or not you have good data on your stream. So this was a pre-set up stream that I had done. Or actually, I don't know if I made this. It might have been made by someone on the program staff, but this is just a general test stream. And you can set this. I can actually show you what it looks like when you're making it on YouTube. So you can change the date. You can make it private, or if you want it to be public, that's what you would do if you're going to actually broadcast. Sometimes I do a test run by doing on private, so folks can, so I can triage some things before I go live. And then depending on your audience, you would select, no, it is not made for kids, to be COMPLA compliant. And if it's going to be something that's kind of racy, you can restrict it to 18 years and older, so people have to log in. And then this is just the name of the stream. You can change this name. And it's helpful if you put a category as well. So I'm just going to get out of that. But essentially what would happen is if I hit go stream or start streaming right here, I would see that information popping up. So I have another stream going right now, so I don't want to goof with anything, but that's basically how you would stream to YouTube. And so those settings are relatively easy. And then when you're done, there's it's a red button up here. You hit end stream. So you can hit stop streaming on this button will change to stop streaming. You can hit start streaming. And then when you stop getting data, you can hit stop stream at the end. So that is something you can do. Are there any other questions, Mary?
Well, it's weird. Oops, there we go. Gregor Smart had a question and it was really good. And I was waiting for you to finish and it looks like he retracted it, but it was a good question and I don't remember it. If he can retype it again, that would be super awesome.
Oh, okay, cool. So
or he can message you later.
Yeah, on Teams.
Totally
maybe
stuck.
he did.
No, he may not have, but he can do that now that he's listening to us.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
So, but it was a really great question. I think it had something to do with, oh, here we go. Scroll credits at and up and down.
Yes, you can do that. So
thank you.
Let me show you. I was waiting for someone to ask me. Da, 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 da. Okay.
Thanks, Gregor.
Scroll credits. So I'm making this particular. Oh, let me
add a scene.
Yep, I added a scene by going to the plus sign here. So scroll credits. And remember, naming conventions are helpful to keep your scenes straight because, again, if you have more than one stream. So what I'm going to do, and this is super fun, is I'm going to add text again. And we're going to add a new text and we're going to hit OK. We can do read from file. So I check this little box right here. It says read from file, and it's going to ask me to browse. Now it's got to be a .txt file or something that I can read. So I'm just going to do .txt because I have some, I have to search something. So I'm just going to find a text file. Hopefully you were smart and prepped it in a folder before. So here's a class I made 4 years ago, and I'm going to hit OK. And so what we can do is we can select the font. We can do the size. So I'm just going to change this to Mongolian. I'm going to make it 14. Hit OK. Oops. Nope, that's too small. We're going to go back. And I'm actually going to make it 48. I'm going to hit OK. Beautiful. Now what we can do is we can align this. We can have the background color. So we can change this color. And we can, I'm going to do the color picker here. But you can actually put in the hex code, again, if you have your branding. So if you wanted a particular color, like a particular shade of green, I don't have the hex codes right now for our branding, but I'm just going to have that as the background. I'm going to hit OK. Oh, that did not pop up. Well, that's annoying. Anyway, it doesn't necessarily matter so much because what we can do is, remember how we went into that filter earlier? So I'm going to right click and go on filters. And if I hit plus, I can hit that scroll again, and we're just going to call this vert scroll because we can reapply filters if we have it. And so we can change the vertical speed. And we can take off the loop. So let's see. What you'd want to do with the file is you'd want to have a little bit of a leader coming up beforehand. So you would put in some extra spaces at the beginning so you don't have this loop necessarily. But you can do that. But essentially, I'm just going to leave it looping just so you can see it. But here essentially is the credits scene. So you can have that scrolling. I could even, let me just duplicate this. Hit OK.
So what if you wanted to have music, intro, outro?
Music, intro, outro?
Over the intro screen or over the credits. So
okay. So actually, you can add a media source. So we can hit create new. We can hit OK. And you can browse. And you can add, I don't know if I have any MP3s or MP4s, but you can add you can have the music playing in the background at the beginning. Like, let's say you have a countdown screen with a video, you can have that at the beginning, and you can make that ahead of time, and you can upload it, and OBS will push it out. So you can do that, or the cheesy way, if you wanted this to be showcased. Oh, hold on, let me cancel that. Transition. Let's say I wanted to have the music over here. What I can do, which is the sort of cheap way, is I can have something playing on my desktop audio. So depending on what you wanted to do, I could theoretically just have something from YouTube that's royalty free, or use something from a media player down below and have that playing through the desktop audio over here. So I hope that answers the question. So there's two ways of doing it.
Yeah. Just because it's me, will you
Yeah.
have a sorry, will you have a like a quick handout?
That's why it's your so
It's
you have to monitor your desktop audio. I was like, what is that weird clicking? I kept seeing that. So you're coming through on my desktop audio. Speak for me.
Dear.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You came through really loud. So that's,
Yes.
I needed, you were peaking. So whoops, that's going to sound terrible on playback.
No,
that's me. So don't worry about it.
Well, it's a showcase.
So actually, this is how I do the interviews on Coffee with Kablik. I do a Zoom call, and I have the desktop audio, and basically the audio from the Zoom call comes in. So that's how I've been doing that.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, for those who work at the library, will you have a little cheat sheet handout that you can upload to Teams?
Oh, maybe. I should probably make one. I was thinking about actually making a LibGuide on this, since it seems to be popular.
Even better.
Yeah. So stay tuned. There might be an update in the description of this video. I also need to update the thumbnail, since it's wrong and it has the Coffee with Kablik stuff on it. But, you know, time. That's fine. Eventually it'll be updated, whenever that is. Any other questions?
I don't see anything else. Oh, Carrie says thanks.
Oh, great.
That was who answered the question. And Gregor says thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Hopefully this was a nice, gentle introduction to OBS. There are a lot of other videos out there where you can do some really crazy, learn how to do some really crazy things. But I was hoping just to cover the basics and get your, this scrolling is really making me mad. There we go. And distracting me.
Bree says, thanks. I definitely learned some new stuff.
Oh, great. That's good to hear.
And so did Kirsten. Thanks you so much. Lots of thanks now. Thanks and praise.
Sounds good. So are there any other questions? Because then I'll just duck out.
Oh, yeah, you have that thing.
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't look like it. Mitch says, thanks. This was very helpful.
Okay, good.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yep. So yeah, this is really useful.
So hopefully the staff, my colleagues who joined me, hopefully you can spice up your program this way. And folks who are looking to do some live streaming for either their small business or as a hobby can get themselves started. It was a pleasure doing this. And thanks for being my guinea pigs, folks. Just trying the different kind of stream. I've never used Zoom to stream to YouTube. I usually use OBS, and I wonder the quality on the playback on this. Curious.
We'll find out.
Yeah, I know, right?
Kirsten says it was definitely very helpful. I've only ever used OBS for gaming or art streams, not for programming, but I definitely learned a lot. Okay, great.
So I think I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and I'm going to start and put my video back on. Can folks see me? Probably not.
No.
There we go.
Yes. There we go.
So I wanted to thank folks for coming today, and I think I'm going to end the stream. So let's see. Unless are there any questions on YouTube, Mary?
Nope, there are no questions. Oops.
Oh, well, thank you very much for being my co-pilot. I appreciate
Thank
it.
you. Yes, we'll chat.
Yes. So, yeah.
Great job.
Oh, thanks. All right, everybody. Thank you. Have a great rest of your morning. And next week I'll be here at 10:30 with Coffee with Kablik. It's the last episode for the first season. And also, Mary, you have your job discussion group tomorrow?
Yes, I do.
Yes.
From 11 to 12.
Yeah.
I'm going to have Anthony Viola from our department be talking about elevator pitches.
So for folks who are looking for an opportunity to pitch an idea for their small business or for tips for a career, that will be a really cool opportunity. And yeah, I think I'm going to end the meeting now.
Okay.